And is the screen looking good to you, Bob?
The screen looks great, and I'm excited to get started.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. And as I said, I'm Dr. Paul Newton, and Bob Burnham's here with me, and we're with celebrity expert author. And we're talking to you today about how to write and publish your money-making expert book in 40 days and grow your business without selling a single book. Before we get really rolling with it, let's get really focused here. And I know in this day and age of technology and all that, I'm just gonna turn the cell phone to silent and just get Facebook shut down so that I can focus in with you guys. I invite you to do the same. Have your paper and pen ready because we are sharing so much information here about getting your book written and published fast. And there are so many benefits that you will get from becoming a published author. And that, in fact, is our promise here for the webinar today. We'll be on with you plan on being here for the next 75 minutes or so. And what our promise to share with you today is that you can be the leading expert in your field and activate multiple hidden streams of income by joining the ranks of published author. And this is just the coolest thing because, there's a lot of people that want to be authors, but then there's people who become authors and they don't even know that there are these perks that are available to authors. And so they're stepping over piles of money, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. Be sure that you stay with us till the end. So, plan to be with us until quarter after the next hour. And I have something really special to share with you. It's our 10 ways to make big money with your book. And it's an infographic that just shares our favorite ways of making money with our book. And that has literally made us hundreds of thousands of dollars just with this one book that we've published on how to be a celebrity expert author. So you'll want to get your hands on that because there are things that you can put into place right away, even before you get your book published. Now, I have some questions for you, and just before we start, get into all the information, have you written a book? And, if you have, congratulations. I mean, you've overcome a really big hurdle, an obstacle that many people never overcome. And it's a really, really big accomplishment. And then if you have written a book, are you happy with the profits? Like, are you making good money with your book? Is it supporting the lifestyle that you want? Has it allowed you to step away from your day job? Are you really bringing in good money? And if you are bringing in good money, great. If you are struggling with that, that's what we're going to cover today as well. And if you haven't written a book, which I'm sure most of you that are on this webinar want to write a book and know you absolutely need one in your business, well, what is in your way of writing a book that grows your business? And there's a lot of hurdles. And, oftentimes, there's so many of us with the perfectionist streak that we think the book needs to be perfect, and I'm just not there yet. And, like me, being a chiropractor, I was always worried that my peers would judge me if I said what I think. And, most people are wondering, well, how do I get it published? And how do I get into the bookstores? And then how do I even find a publisher? And then the big one is I can't write. I don't have any special talents or skills to write a book about. And what if I write it and then it doesn't sell? And sometimes it just feels like it's just way too big a project to take on right now. And maybe you're waiting to have some time to just, have some spare time where you can write your thoughts down. And trust me, that spare time just never seems to come along. And then the big thing is that the whole thing just seems way too overwhelming. And that list just goes on and on and on. But, most people, and we talk to a lot of people that want to write books, they kind of have this sort of glorified dream of what becoming an author is. And so they just think, well, I'll write a proposal and I'll find this publisher like Penguin or something, and they'll just like my proposal. They'll think my idea is so great, and I'll get an advance on my royalties. That'll allow me the time and the space to start writing. Then I'll get published and I'll do a book tour and do signings and I'll cash in on the book royalties. And that's the big dream, but doesn't really work that way, does it, Bob?
Wouldn't that be so nice if it was just so easy as you just described? But no, it's not the way. And as a matter of fact, our mentor, both Paul's and our mentor, is Lisa Sasevich. And if you don't know who Lisa Sasevich is, she actually mentors some of the top self-help professionals in the world. People like Brian Tracy, John Assaraf, Les Brown, Robert Allen. She's the mentor to these people. She was also our mentor. But the fact of the matter is, she had over 1 million people reach when she was putting her book together, and she thought she was just going to write a book proposal and send it in, and the royalties would start rolling in. And I'll tell you something, it was not that way for her at all, not even close. But she ended up doing something else that was even better. And we're going to talk about what she did a little bit later in the webinar. But yeah, it's not that easy a thing to do for 99%, well, 99.9% of authors. The reality is there are some big barriers to making it as an author. And some are real and some are in our heads. Probably actually a few more are in our heads. And when you think about it, there's 7 billion people on Earth, and there's about 500,000 books published each year. Now, this figure is really quite an unusual figure when you think about it. 80% of people want to write a book. Most business people know they should write a book. They've realized it's not only a luxury for them to write a book, it's almost a necessity now. If you're an expert, that you should position yourself with a book. So there's a lot of people that want to write a book. But it's really, when you look at these figures, it's actually, 4 out of 5 want to, but less than 1 in 50,000 people write a book in each year. So you break these down and divide it out, that works out to about 1 in 50,000 people will actually write the book. And the reason it is because they think it's so damn hard to do. They're overwhelmed with the thought of it. It's just, something that's insurmountable in their mind. And the fact of the matter is, it's not that hard to do once you have the proper information and the proper structure to do it. We help authors put together books really quickly, and it can be an easy process, but you just have to have the right information. Of course, we're going to talk about that today. And then another thing is the traditional publishing industry has all but dried up. There's very few traditional publishers. There, probably 20 years ago, there was 20 or 25 traditional publishers. I think there's about 5 left now. And that, trying to get a traditional publisher is really, really tough. As I said, for Lisa Sasevich, she tried this and she had 1 million reach. And it's really, it's just evolved to the point that getting a traditional publisher is a really tough project for you to do. And then add on to that, most authors make less than $500 a year. Now, Paul, I know you did this slide for this, and you're a little bit generous in your $500 because I've got a stat that actually says that about 99% of authors make less than $99 a year. Now, that's sad, and it doesn't have to be that way because that $99 a year is they're focused on the royalties that they make with the book, and you don't make a lot of money with royalties, even if you're a best-selling author, but there's great, fantastic ways to make a considerable, massive amount of money with your book if you know where to keep your money or keep your eyes focused on the money. So we're going to talk about the business of a book and how it can be overwhelming, because there's a lot of, I call it sort of snakes and ladders. And, if you don't have the right information, it really can be overwhelming. You just don't know who do you go to, how do you do it, will I write the right book? On it goes. So we don't want you to worry about that today. We're going to make sure that we're going to take away that overwhelm and that worry. And we're actually going to talk about at the end of the call a special session where you can actually contact us and make sure that you are on the right path with your book. but we'll talk about that at the end of the call. But just before we do that, I just want to introduce myself because I've been talking here a little bit and I haven't really sort of told you who I am. I'm sure some people on this call know who I am, but if you don't, I'm Bob Burnham, and I'm a multiple Amazon #1 best-selling author. And I've been doing this for approximately about 8 or 9 years, but it wasn't always that way. I started a fire and flood restoration business almost 40 years ago now. And I built that company up to 26 locations across Canada. And at one time, we had approximately about 600 full and part-time employees. And the lifestyle was a lifestyle that I didn't really appreciate. I really liked the money that I was bringing in because I had done about $30 million in sales before I was 30 years old. And back then, $30 million was a lot of money when I was 30 years old. So I loved the money, but I didn't really like the lifestyle. Some people like that lifestyle of going from office to office and traveling all the time and seeing new places. But to me, it was like I was working 24 hours a day. I actually started to develop a really bad attitude about, just even walking into an airport. I still even have it today where when I walk into an airport, if it's for business, I get a little bit of a charge. I just don't feel right. But if I'm going to an airport because I want to go on a vacation, I feel absolutely fantastic. So it's something I'm working on, but I haven't quite got there. But now I work from my home office, and one of the things that I wanted to do with working with my home office was, of course, was being able to see my daughters grow up. And on the right-hand side, you see Shay. Now she's 30 years old. She's my oldest daughter. And on the left-hand side is Lex. She's my middle daughter. She's 19 years old. She's a dancer, just like her older sister. And she's also one of the stars of the Steven Spielberg movie, The Uninvited, which she did when she was 12 years old. And then, of course, the little one is Sky, and she's 12 years old. She was 12 years old just this past Christmas Eve. And they're all dancers. So, I really like the idea of, rather than going from office to office and trudging from, employee conflict to problems after problems in my mind, I really like the whole idea of working from home. And as a matter of fact, it's really interesting because before I even sold the last of my fire and flood restoration business, I actually gave away my office and head office to one of my employees and went home. And I started working from home even before I started in this business because now I can come and go when I want. I can see my daughters grow up, or saw my daughters grow up, and it's just really the lifestyle that I've created. And it's something that anybody can create. It's just a matter of really just having the right information. And if you've got the right information, you can do it. And it's not rocket science. If it was rocket science, it's something I probably couldn't do it. But yeah, I really believe with the right information, anybody can do it. And the reason I say that as well is a little stat that I just realized about 2 weeks ago when I was listening to another webinar of somebody else's. They were talking about the fact of how many people had helped become a #1 Amazon best-selling author. And I've never sort of looked at it before. And I realized actually a couple of weeks ago, I haven't actually got the exact figure. I'm going to figure it out in the next week or so. But I figure approximately right now I've helped over 265,000 people, or 265 people become #1 Amazon best-selling author. So that's another little thing I'm quite proud of, and I'll get you the exact figure later. But it's really fun to help people position themselves with a book and become a best-selling author and see how it really changes their lives. And that's one of the things that sort of really sort of brought Paul and I together. He saw the opportunity as well. And Paul, just sort of maybe you could tell your story and why you're doing this as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. And it's kind of funny. I think I'm getting an echo off you, Bob. Okay, good. Just kind of funny the the way you add the word 1,000 after any number you say. But even probably you'd like to add million if you could. But anyway, a little bit about me. I'm Dr. Paul Newton, and I've been a chiropractor for 19 years. I was in practice for 16 of those years. And, during my 16 years in practice, I built 2 physical offices to the multiple 6-figure level. So, I mean, I was making a great living, really great lifestyle, had all the successes that I had hoped from, right from a very young age, I knew I wanted to be a doctor, and then becoming a chiropractor was just sort of my focus because I really was more interested in holistic things and in being into the energy of why people are well and or sick and just overall wellness. So that's why chiropractic for me, and just with the mindset of people in and Western medicine and how we have to really educate people. I found that being a speaker was the best way to help people understand what it was I did and how I built my practice. Because if you just hang your shingle out as a chiropractor, you don't get busy. You don't get any business. And so I would speak in my office. I would speak anywhere anybody would let me speak. And I did a lot of training. I went to Toastmasters. I went to the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, and I went to the National Speakers Association in the U.S. just to get really well versed in what it takes to be a speaker and what's behind the business of it. And at that time, I found I didn't know enough about branding and positioning myself, and so I went back to just being a chiropractor in my office. But I still use speaking to really to build my business, and I used Meetup.com, and I'd host small events in my office, and I generated tons of high-end clients. And the thing with that was, the more people I brought in, the more I would have to work in this office here. And this was my second office. And as you can see, there's a number of tables there, and there's people lying on them. And I had an associate doctor working in there with me. And basically, as long as we had a stream of people going through there, and the more people that went through, the more money I made. I would. I'd be making a good living, but I had to be there, and I had to be dealing with each person face to face. And if I didn't have my hands on somebody, I wasn't making money. And it was fine. I love people. I love seeing people get better. But there's a lot of times where I just wanted to be at home, just in my comfortable clothes, and just sitting at my computer. I love teaching. I love using my knowledge, and so I wanted to take my business virtual, and I wanted to be able to sell the knowledge in my income. And so I took courses, and people had convinced me that it was really easy to put your knowledge into an ebook, and all you had to do was put it up on Amazon, and then you'd start getting checks. Well, I made a whopping $30, and Bob loves to laugh at me for this, but that was my first ebook, The Secrets Happy People Know. And I just thought everybody wants to be happy. So like that would be a really great book. And I think I forced three people to buy it. I twisted their arms and made them give me money, or maybe someone bought it online. I'm not exactly sure, but it really was not a profitable venture. And another thing that I learned was that, hey, you could make information products. You could create a program. So I put some of the philosophy and some of the self-help trainings that I got into a program that I called the High Achievers Success Formula, because I just thought, everybody should know this, especially executives and people that really are high achieving people, because that's what I figured I was. And I could not get $69 from anyone for this program. Just didn't know how to sell it. And I spent a lot of time, a lot of energy, and money learning how to package and price your programs, and how to sell them ever since. And in that training, I joined Lisa Sasovich's mastermind. That's how I met Bob Burnham, and how we became really good friends and partners in this venture. And then we published a book together. And now Bob had been an author before that, but for me, that was my first time being a published author, having a physical book. And our book, How to Be a Celebrity Expert Author, a 7-figure business strategy for coaches, speakers, and entrepreneurs, really, it just kind of outlines our journey through getting ourselves set up in this industry, and how we really saw things. Because with the internet and all the fancy webinars and teleseminars and people having funnels and things, we watched all the people in our mastermind doing all that, working on that all the time, and we just didn't understand it, because we would just talk to people and connect with people, and by doing that, we would get contracts and deals for thousands of dollars. And we couldn't understand why people were trying to make, $2 for everyone who came to their site, or sell something for $99 when all you need is to have a phone conversation with somebody who thinks that you're credible. And so when we published our book, it just really positioned us as in our business together as celebrity expert author. And in doing so, with very few clients or very few leads, we've managed to have some very big success. In fact, there was one day we were just working together on the phone, and we had been dealing with our clients, and we'd had some sales calls. And by the time we got to the end of the day, we realized that we'd had a $50,000 day without even leaving our respective homes. Now, I live in Ottawa in Canada, and Bob lives in Vancouver. And so we're really far apart. We work together by phone. We're 3 time zones away from each other. And it's possible for us to do this from the comfort of our own homes. And it's just one of the amazing things that having a book and being an author has allowed for us in this information industry and the online industry. So, many of you might be wondering, what is the secret to making money with a book? When you hear that, most authors are making less than $500 a year, and then Bob's saying, yeah, it's less than $99, and not a lot of books move. We actually know. We know many people that have 3,000 to 5,000 books in their basement or their garage, and that's just something that we don't want to see happening to you. And we're going to tell you all about how you can make sure that you aren't stocking a whole lot of books and you're making really good money. Because the secret to making money with a book is you make money with a book by using simple strategies to multiply your business. It's not the book itself. It's not just having a book that is, that's selling on Amazon or that's in bookstores. You need to use it as a tool that multiplies your business. And any business can do this. There's a really amazing story about a client that we worked with. Bob, do you want to tell them about our client in California?
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke actually in Arizona. I guess it was probably almost 3 years ago. And this was actually before I met Paul, but she saw me speak and she got a copy of my book back then. And she gave us a call just before Christmas and she was telling us about her book. And she'd been in the business of helping women restore hair loss. And you can imagine that hair loss for women can be quite devastating. But anyhow, she was telling me about the story that she'd been doing it for 30 years. And she had a book and she was almost near bankrupt. So we found out that one thing that she'd been doing was she had been using her book to educate her clients. So she attracted them through her book, and she brought people in, and then she, really educated them. And we told her right away, we said, your book isn't the problem. Your book's attracting and it's doing the job that it should do. I said, but your clients don't really want to be educated. They just want their hair back. They want their life back. And that's how you have to connect with them through your book and through your message when you see them in person. So at the time, like I say, she was pretty well near bankruptcy. She got more money on her credit card to pay us, actually. It was quite interesting. I'm glad that she did. But what we did was, at the time, her particular product, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was $1,500. And her hard cost for the product that she was selling to restore this women's hair loss was $1,000. So she made $500 per conversion or per sale. And she was not selling that many, and death's door was very, very close. But when she started relating to these women on the emotional level, and rather than educating them, started asking them what their life was like with the hair loss and how it had affected their life and how it affected the relationships and how it affected their jobs and their self-confidence and all that stuff. When she finally started to relate to them on the emotional side with her book and her talk, these women, they literally just broke down and said, that's what's going on in my life. And she's a woman that's actually about 95% successful, I believe, with restoring hair loss for women. So she can turn this totally around. So she would at that point just say to women, I can do that. You know, that's something that I do. It's something I've been doing for 30 years. I'm passionate about it. So she all of a sudden, said to these women, I can do that. And instead of saying 1,500, she would say 10,000. We asked her to say 10,000. And she started selling more by positioning herself properly and connecting with her book emotionally, with her talk emotionally, selling more at 10,000 than she did at 1,500. And remember, her cost hadn't gone up. So she went from having a no money problem to having a too much money problem. But these are the kind of things that you can do when you have a book, because they already know, like, and trust you. People buy products and services from you because they know, like, and trust you. That's the way it is. They have to know, like, and trust you. And one of the things with a book is they know, like, and trust you right away because you're the author of a book. But you have to make sure you've got the right message and you're connecting on the right level. So that's my little Erky story. It was a lot of fun to see her success. But once you get your book out there, you can just imagine the feeling of being a best-selling author. There's all sorts of perks that you get. There's I mean, there's so many things. It's almost like in many cases you go to the front of the line. There's many times where it was interesting. I just sold the house that I've lived in for 30 years, and I moved into a condo last year. And at the time, I sort of thought that there was a glut of high-end condos available, and I was just going to rent for a year or two before I bought again. And I thought there was a glut, so I went to look at the first condo, and there it was. There was a lineup out the door of people wanting to rent this condo, and I thought, holy cow, I might not get this condo. But anyhow, I brought a couple of copies of my two most recent books, and I gave them to the landlord, and I said, here's who I am, and here's copies of my books. Put me right to the front of the line, and I got that condo out of a huge lineup. So, these are some of the things and perks that could happen when you position yourself with the books, and it's really fun. What it does is it really sort of it gets you away from being sort of the salesperson, but also what you can do is, like I said, with my landlord, is I just give them a free copy of my book. And when you give them a free copy of your book, you right away think about it. Your client is pre-sold because of the book. You don't have to go through a sales pitch. They're already pre-sold because they've gone through your book, and they are already thinking that they want to buy, and you're already in a good position to close that sale. It helps you get by the gatekeepers. It's so much easier to get by gatekeepers when you have a book. There's many times where people wouldn't take my call, but as soon as I positioned myself with a book, not only did I get by the gatekeepers, but many times people would call me before I even called them. So it's always been a really big boom for me how that book has been positioning. And like I say, I've been doing it for about 8 or 9 years, and I love teaching it to other people because it really can change your life. And then lastly, another little point I'd like to go, and this is really important. When you write a book, you instantly move from the dreaded salesperson to the trusted advisor or the authority. Think about it. When you go in as a salesperson, you're pushing yourself upon that client to make a sale. And that's, I guess, why a lot of people just don't like salespeople. But the thing is, once you position yourself with a book and the trusted advisor and authority with a book, even though you still are making a sale, there's a different energy there. You've gone from a push to an attract. They're already thinking, I would rather deal with the expert, the trusted authority, than deal with a salesperson. So it really changes the energy on absolutely everything that you do once you position yourself with a book. Wouldn't you agree, Paul?
Yeah, it's just so nice to become the expert that people are seeking. That people are inviting you into their businesses, and they're inviting you to almost like sell to their customers as well. Even you go under the radar. And so this and many other things that Bob has already addressed, we're going to cover in more detail. And I just want to share with you what you're going to discover in your time with us today. So the content of this webinar is basically, first, how to create your own step-by-step money-making book outline so you can write and publish a book that attracts your ideal clients and eliminates your competition. And we know that most of you that are here today are here because you know you need a book, and we want to show you how you can really simplify the process of getting it done. Then we're going to tell you the secret that makes your product or service the ultimate solution that your clients are craving, so you can triple your fees overnight. Just like, that story that Bob was telling about the lady that treated hair loss. When you're positioned properly and you're the expert people are seeking, they will pay anything to get what you're offering. And that positioning, when it's in a book, is just so powerful. And we're going to show you how to do that. And then this is so cool. How to start attracting leads and making money even before your book is published or written. And Bob has a great example of how he did it. And the really funny thing last night, Bob, is there was when I was doing this talk live here in Ottawa at my meetup group, there was a lady that had published a bunch of books, and she talked about using this exact strategy and how she got a speaking gig and how it actually gave her a kick in the butt, and she had to write a book. Because she didn't expect to get the proposal that she pitched, but then she said because she was an author, they actually hired her. So it works even when you don't expect to get the job. And the other thing, on book royalties. So she was saying that she has that book that she wrote is still up on Amazon, and it is selling, and she's getting royalties. It does work out to about between $30 and $60 a month. So sometimes she might be breaking that average of 500 that I said the average author makes. But we were saying, well, that might get you coffee every day, but not good coffee, just the low end stuff. And then we're going to share the quickest way to get prospects to know, like, and trust you, so you can take them from cold to sold. And again, we've already been talking about this, with Bob talking about how getting past the gatekeepers and having your prospects coming to you ready to buy because they have your book in their hands. And so let's talk about the step-by-step book formula that gets your book done fast. And what you will create with this formula, it's a book. It's a physical book, something you can hold in your hands. We're not talking about ebooks here. We're talking about actually published paper books. And what we suggest you publish is about 120-page business book, a book that's going to grow your business. And there's reasons for having it this size. And basically, it's the typical 5.5 by 8.5 paperback cover. 120 pages because it's not very big. It's easy to carry. It doesn't weigh a whole lot. And, if you can get your message very concise and very clear and into that 120 pages, it's good because most people don't get overwhelmed by a book that size. People don't really like reading that much anymore, and they're not really into paper. So you want to save some trees, and you want to make it low cost, easy to print. And when it's this size, if you print them in volume, you can get the cost down to about $1 or $2 a book. And we suggest you give them away, because when your ideal clients have these books in their hands, and they see that you're the published author of solving the problem that they really need solved, the likelihood of you getting business from that person is a lot higher. It's really high. And you don't want to be trying to sell your book to that person. You want to make sure the person knows that you solve a problem, and that you can help make their life be the way that they want it. And in that case, they'll be willing to pay you thousands of dollars instead of $19.97 for your book. We suggest that this book is about 8 to 10 chapters. That's about what people can handle writing, and it's comfortable for 120 pages. And you want to pick the 8 to 10 topics that are most relevant to what you're doing. And Bob is going to actually show you how to do that. But before we do that, I just want to show you the overview of our step-by-step money-making book outline. And this is really cool because there's an order and a process to it. And you want to make sure you do these things in order because most people, they get so eager about being an author, they just want to get down to writing. But there's phase 1, which is position. And that's where you actually you decide on the goal of your book. And I'm going to go into more detail on this anyway. So you position your topic, you position your clients, you position your book, and you want to make sure you position what you're doing, what your service is to the client. So we'll go into more detail on that because it's really, really important. The second phase is produce, and that's where you actually are writing, designing, getting the layout done, and all that stuff that a lot of people are so eager to get down to. And so you want to make sure that you don't jump straight to phase two. And sometimes people jump straight to phase three. They're going looking for a publisher. They're going out there and looking for someone to submit a book proposal to. So they're way ahead of themselves. But that's phase three. And phase four, it's the only phase we advise you to do outside of the order of, so phase four, where you're making money from your book, you can actually do that before you even start writing. And we're going to show you how. So those are the four phases to the step-by-step money-making outline. And let's just go into phase one here. And phase one is positioning. And this is where you are actually using your book to establish who you are, your brand, who your perfect customer is. And you want to know what's your objective from writing this book. And for us, we're talking about a book that is about your business, a book that grows your business. So, while all writing is often very revealing, it often reveals a whole lot about yourself, and it can be quite cathartic. We do encourage you to do journaling and do things that help you with your process of going through anything that obstacles you may be overcoming. But this kind of book, the goal of it, absolutely, 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 has to be to make you money in your business. So some goals to consider are establishing credibility, and a book can do that for you super fast. It gives you instant credibility. Generating leads, getting more people to come to your business so you can make more sales. Charging higher fees, just like Bob talked about with the lady with the hair loss. Selling high ticket programs. High ticket program can be anything from, say, $2,000 to $10,000, but even $1,000 is a high ticket program. And just getting away from your one-off sales. Educating your customers and getting them to understand more about why they should use your services or why they should partake in your services longer or buy your products more. Generating referrals. It's a great tool, having a book, to get your current customers to send you more customers. And then creating multiple streams of income. And these multiple streams of income, they are, it's just so nice that you produce one book. And then what happens is all these different avenues for making money open up in your business. So what is the secret that makes your product or service the ultimate solution that clients are craving so you can triple your fees overnight? Now, this is, again, the positioning phase, phase one, before you're even writing your book. And the key is you need to decide who is your book for. And this is where you're choosing your perfect customer. And I talk to people all the time, and they tell me about their products or their services, and they talk about how it's good for everybody, anybody who is alive. And, I like to talk about a friend of mine, a chiropractor, who she used to say, yeah, anybody with a spine and a pulse is who's my ideal client is. And, basically because somebody's alive and they have a spine doesn't mean they're going to want to go to a chiropractor. A lot of people don't even like chiropractors, or there's a lot of people that have different opinions on their healthcare. So I don't want people that are going to argue with me. I would want people that think I walk on water, people that are think that I'm the best thing for that I'm like the cure for anything that they have. I want those people that just want to give me money and refer me people, and they just want to rave about me and be really happy every time they come in. And that's how you choose a perfect customer. They are the people who are going to benefit from your service and benefit from the information in your book. They're going to be the people that whose lives are going to just change radically. They have a problem you can solve. And what they're going to do is they're going to fulfill the objective of your book. They're either going to be referring you, they're going to be coming in and spending the money with you, they'll be buying your product, they're going to be utilizing your service to the full capacity. And we're going to show you how to write a book that does that. So this is really critical. And so your perfect customer, you'll notice I'm jumping to the profit phase because we don't like to waste too much time before we start making any money here. And when you know this customer inside and out, and you know how to speak to them, you know how to really resonate with them, then from there you write the right book and you can cash in. And you can do this before your book's even written because all of a sudden you'll start speaking differently to the customers you have. Now, a perfect customer is worth a lot of money to you. And oftentimes this gets overlooked. And I'm going to invite Bob in to talk about the lifetime value of a customer in a moment, but I just want to show you just a really quick and dirty kind of calculation based on being a chiropractor. And this is even going to be really conservative. Now, when I was still in practice, we were charging $45 for an adjustment, which is a visit to the chiropractic office. People would like pull out their wallets, pay me $45, and then I would, I'd perform the chiropractic adjustment, and they'd leave. And that was a one-off visit. But if I looked at a new patient, somebody who came in to see me, and I figured, okay, on the conservative end, if they came in to get a problem resolved, how much would a new sale cost? Like for them to take care of the whole problem, not just the one-time $45 adjustment, but a series of them. And it would be nothing for me to get somebody to spend $1,000 in my office over the course of a year. In fact, I could get them to spend $2,000 to $3,000. And but if we're just being conservative with $1,000, and that's just with them spending money on chiropractic adjustments, over the next 2 years of being a client, I think that they could refer me about 5 people because, they have family members, they have friends, they have colleagues at work. And, it was typical that people would come in by referral. Now, if those people have the same kind of spending pattern, then the referral income from those 5 people would be $5,000. So the value of my perfect customer is the 5,000 plus the $1,000. That perfect customer is worth $6,000. Now, Bob, did you did a different calculation when you were working in your carpet cleaning business, and you also have a story you want to share.
Well, this is a really important topic we're talking about because when you really realize what the lifetime value of your customer or your client is, you really start looking at them in a different perspective. And that's why it's so important. And I'll just quickly say, I did that in my carpet cleaning company many, many years ago. And we quickly calculated that the lifetime value of a carpet cleaning customer was about $35,000. So when we looked at a customer as being $35,000 as opposed to $150 for the one-time cleaning, we looked at them in a different light. And all of a sudden, all of us started treating that client like gold because they spent a lot of money with you over a lifetime. But I want to give you a better example, and this is in the restaurant industry. And for many years, my family used to go to a local restaurant here in Vancouver. It's called Earl's. And we used to go there probably once or twice a week, and we'd spend, let's say, $50 or $70 for the family. And when you start calculating that out over a year, that can be, as much as, let's say, $400 a month times a year is $5,000 a year times 20 years. You can see you're already at tens of thousands of dollars. But then you start thinking about, referring that restaurant to your friends and family, and they're going to be doing the same amount of spending money on going to that restaurant. Well, here's why it's so important. Is Earls knew this, that the lifetime value of the customer literally could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we're talking a $20 meal, but that client could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime with referrals and repeat. Now, when you look at that customer and you see that they're $100,000 customer, and they all of a sudden say to you, "Oh, I think it's a little bit too salty today. Could you bring me something else?" A lot of restaurants still today go, "Well, that's the way it's made, and they're not going to do too much about it." But Earls knew they would just go, "Absolutely no problem. What else can we bring you?" They'd bring you whatever you wanted, no questions asked. And then many times, not only would they bring you a second meal, no questions asked, they wouldn't even charge you for the original meal. Now, we always knew that we were going to be treated like royalty there, and that was the reason why we kept going back and we kept referring. But think about it. There's so many restaurants out there that'll write off a client for a $20 meal because they look at him as a $20 customer rather than the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they could be. So once you get that lifetime value of your client in your head and really calculate it, you'll look at those clients completely differently again, and you'll start realizing that your book really generates these clients to you. And when your book generates, let's say, a 10 or a 20 or $50,000 lifetime value, you start looking at it, go, how many customers would I like to get, or clients would I like to get when they're a value like that? I mean, I would spend money all day long getting clients like that because I know the lifetime value is so big. So it's an important number to know, and it's an important number we always talk about our clients with. Isn't that right, Paul?
Yeah, it really is. And when you start seeing that a client is worth that much to you, you start thinking, wow, do I really want to spend a little more time on my positioning and making sure that I know what they care about? And I would spend more money actually on how I'm going to get them. And so, when you can use a book to attract these kind of customers and really show them why you're the best choice for them, then it makes sense to invest money in this kind of strategy. And that's why, more and more of the smart business people out there are seeing that it's a no-brainer. You just have to have a book. It's really not an option anymore to try and just compete in the market online or with websites, because this book strategy is really where you can distinguish yourself as the go-to option. So that's the profiting part. Phase 4, we'll be coming back to that, but like I said, it's the only step that you should do out of order. But back to positioning, when you are going to be writing your book, now that you know who your perfect customer is, now you can start thinking of what's the book I'm going to write. And the book that you write needs to be interesting to that customer. They have to care. Like, why will they care about that book? You've got to think, that perfect customer is going, what's in it for me? Why should I read this? I don't want to read it to know how smart you are. I don't want to read about it to know what you studied. I don't want to know what you know. I just want to benefit from what you do or what you have for me. And so what you really need to ask yourself is, what is the problem that you are solving for your perfect customer? And you have to get inside their heads. You need to be thinking, what, when they're looking at their clock at 4 in the morning and they're going, I can't sleep, what's going through their heads? Why are they stressed out and not sleeping? What are they worrying about? And how do they worry? You want to know that emotional language going through their heads. And when you can say, imagine, like this poor lady, maybe her son's not doing well in school, or maybe her there's some marital problems, and she's really stressed out financially about what's going to happen. And when you can start talking about the problems she's having and using the words that she uses, then you're going to have an emotional connection to her. And when you can think, well, imagine what it'll be like when your son's doing great in school and you don't have to worry about him, or when your finances are in order and you can sleep like a baby, or when your relationship is doing really well and you're happy and you guys are getting along and you're looking forward to coming home. And when you're talking like that, and that you can produce these kind of results, you're really talking a big transformation in their lives. And so you want to be able to describe the results that they crave. You want to be able to describe how it looks when their problem's solved. What's it like to wake up in the morning and know that you slept all solid 6 to 8 hours or whatever it is, and you never woke up worrying at all. That's the kind of language you want to be using. So in positioning your book, you want to be able to describe how you're going to take your ideal client or your perfect customer from problem to solution in their words. And Bob, you actually get our clients to come up with their proprietary system.
Yeah, and this can be really important. Is you can solve their problem in a 3, 5, or 7-step easy solution. You should put that into your book. Now you can say it's a 3, 5, or 7 steps, or you could come up with a name for your proprietary system. And the reason that you want to do that is you separate yourself from the competition completely, because people can't buy that system anywhere else. The only place they can buy that system or that program is with you, and that's what you want to position yourself in the book. So if you can do that, solve their problem in a 3, 5, or 7-step process, you definitely want to do that. And like I say, if you can come up with an acronym, that's even better to sort of position yourself with, just to sort of separate yourself and separate yourself from the competition. So when you start writing this book, the first thing you want to do is you want to talk about your $1 million story. And sort of Paul and I did this right at the beginning of, well, a little bit into the webinar here, but we talked about the story about where we came from. You know, we were, Paul was a chiropractor and I was a business person, and we both had, you know, a pain in our lives. We were both doing well, but we had pain. There are certain parts of our lives that we just didn't like. So the reason we talked about our $1 million story is we wanted to resonate with you just about the fact of what we've gone through to get to where we are, because we wanted to get to the point where we could do what we're doing right now. I'm sitting actually at my kitchen counter, and Paul's sitting, I'm sure, in his home office, and he's sitting in Ottawa, and I'm sitting in Vancouver, and we've created this lifestyle and how we got to this lifestyle. So I'm not traveling from office to office across Canada anymore. I'm sitting at my kitchen counter. I can come and go when I want. And this is my $1 million story. And this is what a lot of people want. And this is what people resonate with you. So it's important that you have that story. And you do have that story. And by the way, you'll find that in 99% of the time, you are your perfect client. You are your ideal customer. That is why you're doing what you're doing now, is because you want to help people get to where you've gone to, or where you come to, or what you created. So you want to, first of all, write about your $1 million story. And then what you want to do is you want to put together a really quick table of contents. And as Paul mentioned a little bit earlier, the book only has to be about 120 pages. But if you take that book, 120 pages, all that you really need to do with that 120 pages for the table of contents is break it up into chapters. Now, with a 120-page book, you know, we're not going to have a lot of chapters. It's only going to be probably 8 or 10 topics or chapters. So you want to actually write out 8 or 10 topics or chapters. Write out what that chapter is about, the title is about. They could be changed later, but write down ahead of time what each topic or chapter is going to be about. And then once you go through and you write down the 8 or 10 topics or chapters, what you want to do is break those 8 or 10 topics or chapters into 3 to 5 points each, and list those out as well. Just go through and break it into, well, excuse me, 2 to 5 or 3 to 5 points each, and just list them out. Now, the beauty of doing this table of contents first, and sort of, as I call it, you templatize your book, or you blueprint your book, or you do the map first. The neat thing about when you do it this way is you can write your book in any order you want. You can do the second chapter first, and then the 7th chapter, and then the 1st chapter, and then the 9th chapter, and it's all going to fit together really nicely. But if you don't take time to do your table of contents or your blueprint first, you're going to struggle, and you're going to find that you get writer's block. There's easy ways of making sure that you don't get writer's block, and if you just map it out first and spend that little bit of time mapping it out, it's really easy to set your book up and get it done. And we're going to talk about how easy it is once the table of contents is done. So once you've done that, then you just literally, it's just a matter of you just start writing. You just produce. This is phase 2. You just start writing and start producing the book. And one of the things you want to do when you start writing and doing your book is your goal is to basically do 120 pages. And Paul was talking about 120 pages, and there's a lot of different reasons we do 120 pages, 5.5 by 8.5, is, you know, it's less expensive to ship. It's less expensive to give away. People will read a smaller book as opposed to a bigger book. So there's a lot of advantages to having that smaller book. So your goal is to finish that 120 pages as quickly as possible. And that's what you want to do once you've set up the template. Is there any other points you want to make on that, Paul?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about 120 pages, like in that 5.5 by 8.5 size, you have about 250 words a page. And when you multiply that out, it comes out to about 30,000 words for this kind of book. And you know, that number in itself may be a little overwhelming, but you know, if you break it down, many of us at this point in our lives, we've written an essay or two, or you know, kicking and screaming, and an essay is about what, 1,000 words, or maybe it's a blog post or something. But 1,000 words is possibly, is doable, just writing that. And if you write 1,000 words every day, you could probably do that in 30 days. Now, if you're starting to feel like, well, I don't know if I could get myself motivated to do that, well, you can break it down further. Maybe you want to write 500 words a day or 250 words a day. But if writing isn't for you, just writing it, like physically writing it, there's another option. And, so like a lot of people, they get hung up on just the writing part, and we say, hey, you know what? There's an easier way to do it. And what I want to share with you is there's 4 people who will save you hundreds of hours of work, possibly thousands of hours of work. And a lot of last night when I was presenting this, there were people that were a little bit skeptical. Like, can you actually really write and publish a book in 40 days? And the fact of the matter is, we have had one, possibly 2 people who have done it in the time that we've been working with our clients. And you don't have to do it in 40 days. It's just to know that it's possible. So the writing part, if you write 1,000 words a day, that's going to take you 30 days, but you can do it faster. And in fact, Bob and I got all the content of our book, How to Be a Celebrity Expert Author, out in 5 days. All the content. And we had a working manuscript within 5 days. And this is the way we did it. We used these 4 people. The first person is the interviewer, somebody who takes your table of contents and interviews you on the subject matter. Now, Bob and I acted as the interviewers, and we interviewed each other. And all we did is we met on Skype, and we basically decided who was going to be the interviewer and who was going to be the speaker. And we took our table of contents, and the interviewer just asked the speaker questions about the subject. Just, okay, so tell me about point 1. What did you mean by this? And the speaker would talk about it. So, maybe we took the chapter heading and we would say, okay, well, let's give me a little introduction to what this chapter is about. Tell me about this point. And then we had them go into detail on each subpoint. And we recorded that and we sent it off to the second person, who is the transcriber. And you can find a transcriptionist, somebody who does transcription, on Fiverr.com, or you can find them any number of places. Just look it up on the internet. But the beauty of Fiverr.com is they have people who will do anything for $5, and you can find, typically transcription costs about $60 an hour, and you can find very good people who will take your audio recording, even a video recording, and turn it into a Word document that you can work with, sectioned into paragraphs, all your ums and ahs taken out, with proper grammar, proper spelling, and even formatted so that it said Bob and Paul and where the interviewers were. And nowadays, like when Bob and I are interviewing our clients to produce their books, there will be 3 of us on the call, and the transcriber actually knows who's who and separates it into which person's speaking. And then you have it in paragraph form. You can move it around. But the beauty is, instead of having a blank paper staring at you or a blank computer screen, you have, from an hour's worth of interview, you have probably 10, 12 typed pages, like full Word document pages, which is way more than the amount for a book page. And the average person speaks at about 100 words a minute. And so if you think about that, in 10 minutes, you're going to have 1,000 words. So there's your day of writing. And in an hour, you have 6,000 words. So there's like even more than 5 days, 6 days of writing. So in 5 days, with 5 hours of interviewing, 5 hours total of interviewing, you can have all 30,000 words. So that is just the beauty of it. And then that's the second person. You hand it to the third person, who's the ghostwriter, who's going to take your words. And like the written word and the spoken word are very different, right? The way you talk is not the way that it's written. However, you don't necessarily want a book that's in perfect grammar. You don't want it in perfect literary prose or what have you. You want it to be in your voice. You want it to be in and conversational English, because nowadays people they aren't looking to read the same sort of things that that we read 30 years ago in school, and nobody even liked it back then. So so now what you're finding more and more is that books are written in a very conversational style. Grammar rules are more lax, and even it's okay to start sentences with and it's okay to just talk the way that you talk. And the ghostwriter will just make sure it has this flow, and it makes sure that your points that you make are put in the proper order, that that things have a good sound to them. And a good ghostwriter will do that very quickly while maintaining your own voice. It still sounds like you. And then from the ghostwriter, it goes to the editor. The editor is just going to make sure that that things make sense, that there's consistency, that that the spelling is right, that the sentence structure is reasonable, and just make sure that there are that the manuscript is in the form that can go to the publisher. Now, we want to emphasize here that even Deepak Chopra's books or Wayne Dyer's books, any book out there is going to have some typos in it. It's just impossible to like get a book perfect right off the bat. But so don't let that hold you back. You want to get your book published more than you want it to be perfect. And people that are writing the perfect book, Bob, didn't you have somebody that I don't know how long it was taking them to write the perfect book,
Oh,
and you helped them?
we've been writing it since 1968. And I actually told the story in my classes that she'd been writing this book since 1968. And then I decided to publish this particular point on my blog. And sure enough, she called me the next day, and thank God she was laughing because she corrected me. She says, I haven't been writing the book since 1968. I've been writing it since 1967. And it was because of the very point of, it had to be perfect for her. But there's no such thing as a perfect book. Just get it out there. She's going to be dead before her book's out there. Just get the book out there, and because a mediocre book, with a few, maybe a few errors in it, is always going to do better than somebody that's waiting for a perfect book that never happens.
Yeah, and I mean the multiple income streams that we're talking about and the author status that you get, no good to you if you're not writing your book. If it's not, if you don't get your book published, it doesn't work for you. So get that book written so that you can get it published, and that moves us to our next section, phase 3, which is publish your book. And there are a number of author options for publishing nowadays. And it's really great for us because there are options and we can get ourselves published, because it's never been easier to actually be a published author. Yet there still remain barriers to doing it. And if you follow that system that we have for writing it, and if you use those 4 people, that will just shave hours. You'll write your book in 1/10 of the time, probably like even faster if you do it that way. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to get done. And so use those people, use the interviewer, the transcriber, the ghostwriter, and the editor, and you will just amaze yourself. And that's something that we actually do for our clients. We actually provide ghostwriting services. We provide the interviewing services, and we actually help people formulate their book so that they write the right book. And then the other thing that we actually do is publish. And so I'm going to show you the options here. How you choose to publish your book is really going to shape the professional image of your book and the business of your book. And so you really need to make sure you're choosing the right publisher, the right kind of publishing method, because you do it right and you'll make good money. And if you do it wrong, you can really hurt yourself, and you won't make any money. It'll actually cost you. So first of all, forget about the traditional publisher. Bob, what do you like to tell people about the likelihood of getting a
Well,
publisher?
I say in my workshop that you've got a better chance of growing a third eye, being struck by lightning in that third eye within the 15 minutes than getting a traditional publishing agreement. I'm not saying that it can't happen. People win lotteries as well, but don't bet on it. It's just not happening for most of us. And that might be the bad news, but in actuality is the good news. And Paul's going to explain that.
Yeah, I mean, like first of all, you have way less leeway when you have a traditional publisher. The multiple streams of income we're talking about, like the your ability to take your book and turn it into programs and courses, to use your book, to give it away, to use your book when you're speaking as a giveaway and a lead generation tool. It's not as available to you because the publishers end up owning the rights to your book. Whereas when you use other options like self-publishing, it's all you. Now, self-publishing is the second option, and it's a good option because it's very it's something you can do yourself. However, there are so many things that you need to learn. It's so time consuming in how in figuring out how to get your book uploaded properly, how to get everything designed, getting the cover formatted, getting the format of the layout, and it's just really easy to hurt your image because you can publish a book on your computer, you can do it yourself, but if it looks like, hey, you just did this on your computer and it looks like you did this at home, people are going to think really badly of you because they're going to think if you don't care about your image this much, then how good will your service be? So self-publishing, there's a ton of mistakes you can make. And in fact, we could do a whole webinar just on that and the ins and outs of doing it properly. And if you're just going to publish a book, one book, like, is there any real use in going through all it takes to learn all that unless you want to do it again and again and again for yourself and others? So it's probably not the best use of your time either, figuring this out. So self-publishing, yes, you can do it, but there are costs involved too, and they do add up over time. You just might not see them as much. Now, the third option is pay to publish, where you actually pay a company, a publishing company, to get your book published. And I don't know, Bob, did you have anything to say about the other methods, like
Well,
self-publishing or pay to publish?
with the self-publishing is, so many people self-publish because they want to save money and do it themselves, and that's fine. I understand that. But the reason that they're writing a book usually is to position themselves and to attract, better clients. And I see so often the book that they publish because they don't know the ins and outs of doing a good self-published book, it does the exact opposite of what they're trying to do. They've actually lowered their image rather than raised their image. And as we know, people deal with people they know, like, and trust. And if you are represented and your book doesn't look professional, you've totally shot yourself in the foot. So it's important that you realize you might save some money on self-publishing, but in the long run, you'll probably lose some money because you're not going to get the clients you truly want.
Yeah, and then so then it really makes sense to take somebody who to go with somebody who knows the ropes and knows how to get this done and knows how to make you look good. And so, how do you choose a pay to publish publisher? Well, you want to know that the somebody that you're going with has a good track record. They've done it before, they've done it well. They have books out there that the books are doing the things that you want to do. You want to make sure that they've had success publishing the type of book that you want to publish, and you just check out what other books that they have out there and who they've published for. You want to know that their authors are successful. And you want somebody who understands the expert industry and how experts make good money with a book. And that's that's the type of book we're talking about, a business book that showcases your expertise and makes you the leading expert in your field. And here are some of our authors. Bob, just do you want to say a few words about the people that we've published?
Yeah, well, I was mentioning earlier in the webinar about the fact that Lisa Sasevich, who you see on the right here, she was not able to get a traditional publishing agreement. That was the bad news, good news, but she was able to get her book published, and the people that were able to help her get it published were myself and Paul. So she had a pay to publish version of her book. So she went that route, and really, when you think about it, it's really, really interesting because it really shows how a book really positions yourself. Because one of the ways that I got Lisa Sasevich as a client is I introduced myself and I handed her my book I said, hi, I'm Bob Burnham, I'm the author of, and I gave her the book, and she turned out to be a client. And she's been a client for a long time. And then, of course, Joe Vitale, if you know Joe Vitale is from the movie The Secret. And we just released a second book for him just a couple of weeks ago. We made the first book #1 Amazon best-selling book. We made the second book a #1 Amazon best-selling book, and I'm sure we'll be doing more books with him in the future. And then also, I was just mentioning to Paul when we were trying to think about some of the authors we have worked with. You, you soon forget some of the people that you work with, but you work with some really great people. Paul, you were talking about James Pooley. James Pooley is.
Oh yeah. So he was designated by Obama to be the he's a diplomat to and he was appointed to the United Nations, the WIPO, the World Information. What is it called? I can't remember. Anyway, he was involved in patent, and he was the second in command in Geneva, and so really high profile people know the benefits of having a book published. Most CEOs know that they need to have a book published, and that's just the way it is. Like this day and age, you need a book, and so when you've got people that that are working at that level, you can have the same level of authority as them. So when you do get your book published, you want to make sure that it makes you shine. And this is how a publisher makes your book makes you shine. They do really professional formatting, so it looks the way that people expect books to look. There's a hooky title and subtitle that really just grabs people and pulls them in. And we're talking about your ideal client, your perfect customer. And then the cover just grabs attention. And the back cover copy, what's written on the back says, "This is for me." And basically says, "This is for me" to your perfect customer, not "This is all about me," about the author, because nobody cares. And then on Amazon, or on in the bookstores and wherever people are looking you up, there's a professional product description. And so many people hurt themselves here because they're just typing into the box online, and they don't know what to type, so they just stick something silly in there, and that hurts them. You got worldwide distribution. If you're if somebody hears about us on a webinar and goes into a bookstore in Australia, they're going to find us. They'll find us in the computer, and it'll say the book ships within a day. It's not there on the shelf, but it does end up at their house. And so that gives us credibility. And you want to be found because it's really important that anywhere people look, they're going to find you online and offline. So that's what a publisher does for you, a good publisher. And that's why spending some money on getting a good publisher to do that sort of thing for you just really works out. Now, we told you that we would share with you how to start attracting leads before you're and making written or published. And this is something that that Bob did, and it's really quite interesting. So, Bob, how do you start making money right away? And this is the profit section.
I've done it myself, and I've had many of our clients do it, and it's quite fascinating. Is you don't necessarily have to have the book out, but you can start just sort of leveraging yourself with the book by just, for example, on your signature emails, put Bob Burnham, author of the soon-to-be released book, and give the title. Whether it's your elevator pitch, when you're introducing yourself, hi, I'm Bob Burnham, author of the soon-to-be released, and give the title. So you can start actually, talking the book up a little bit before it's actually released. And a really, really good example of how powerful this system is to actually start using it before it's published is when I originally started with, teaching processes of how I've written, published, and sold my information. I contacted the continuing education here in the Vancouver Lower Mainland. And what I did was I introduced myself. I said, hi, I'm Bob Burnham, author of the soon-to-be released 101 Reasons Why You Must Write a Book. And I would like to teach a course to your students. I think they'd be interested. in on how to write and publish your book in 40 days. And now the administrator at this particular school said, that sounds like a really good course. Can you send us a course description? I said, absolutely, not a problem. So what we did is we hung up the phone. And as soon as we hung up the phone, I started writing out the course description. And then I sent her this course description, and then I called her back a few days later, and I said, so what do you think of the course description? You think this is a course that'll really do well for you? And she goes, yeah, this course looks really fantastic. I said, well, let's book some dates to get this workshop in your school and start teaching these people how to do this process. And she said, fantastic, and she booked the dates. So I actually, hung up the phone after that, wrote out the course. But I did that all before the book was even published. Now, the book came out, I think it was 2 or 3 or a month after that, the book actually came out. But I started monetizing. I started making money with that book before it was actually published. And we've had so many of our clients do that, where they introduce themselves as the author of the forthcoming or soon-to-be released book. And people will accept you and take you in differently once you introduce yourself as an author. Try it. You'll be absolutely amazed at how it really sort of changes your positioning. So those are just a couple of ways to do that in advance. And then that's the way to do it with the profit. And then the quickest way to get your prospects to know and trust you, so you can take them from cold to sold, is of course, writing a book, because you've gone from the salesperson to the trusted advisor. And the easiest way to make money with your book is really just to start passing it out, start handing it out to the people that you think would be your ideal client. When you start really realizing that your book opens doors that were never open for you before, it's really magical how it starts happening. And we've got some stats that are really quite interesting that I think you'll find fantastic here. We've tracked it that when people come to you through your book, they actually stay with you 3 times longer. They actually turn out to be 3 times higher in monetary. So most people that come, perfect clients that come through your book, you make 3 times as much money, 3 times longer. And this one's really neat. They will refer you 10 times as often. So that's 3 times more. 3 times more the money and 10 times more the referrals. So when you really think about that book and how it's working for you, it's a really powerful way of positioning that book. And when you think about it, you do the work once, but it just keeps working over and over again for you. It's your 24-hour day, 7-day a week, 365-day a year salesman, never asks for a raise, never calls in sick. And I'll give you an example. I've got an associate. We didn't actually do his book for him, but I really love his strategy, because what he's done is he likes working just part-time. And hey, all the power to him. I think he's about 45 now, and he makes I think he said approximately about $350,000 a year. And how he makes that $350,000 a year is he sends out every year about 100 copies to his perfect customer. These are key people in his industry that he thinks that will want to connect with him, because he's the author of this particular book. So he just sends 100 books out to those key people, and he's able to work part-time each and every year, just sending out 100 books. And I said, well, why don't you make more money? He says, I don't want to make more money. He says, me and my wife and my kids, we go on vacations 4 and 5 times a year. Yeah, I can make a lot more money, send out a lot more books to the right people, but I don't want to. $350,000 a year is enough for me, and I like having vacations. So these are the kind of things that can happen when you really position yourself with the right book. And we've got another client that actually I just did a webinar with her over in London, in the UK. Of course, I stayed in my home office here in Vancouver, but we did the webinar in London, the UK, a couple of weeks ago. But one of the really neat things about what she did is she always does talks to women. She's a communications expert. Her name is Kay White, and she does the A to Z of communications. We did her book with her several years ago, and we made it a #1 bestseller over in the UK, in London. And now she does talks to 50 or 100 women. And these are all executive women. Now, what she does is she always gives away free 50 copies or 100 copies to who's ever there at the speaking event. Sometimes the event promoter will pay for the books and pass them out. Sometimes they split it with Kay. Sometimes Kay pays the whole thing. It doesn't really matter to her. She'll pay for the books and gladly, because what she does is when she speaks to 60 or 100 women, for the 60 or 90-minute talk, every time she passes out those free books, before she leaves the building, she has already contracted each and every time between $15,000 and $25,000 worth of business. But here's the thing, which was really, really interesting. I was talking to her several months ago about this. I said, yeah, when you finish your talk, you've already, basically contracted before you leave the building $15,000 to $25,000 worth of business, and that's great. But if you ever actually figured it out, people that contact you from that talk over the next year, and she says, I haven't. I'm going to follow that up and figure out a figure for you. So she figured it out, and she figured out that most of the talks she had done weren't actually 15 to 25,000. Most of the talks were over six figures. So that one 60 to 90-minute talk, in actuality, was over six figures. And these are the kind of things where sometimes things like this happen and we don't even notice because they happen over a long time. But that's just giving away the book for free. And it's a really, really powerful way to really bring in the clients that you want, the clients that you want to work with, and the clients that really, want your expertise. These aren't people that are the tire kickers. These aren't people that are trying to make you a commodity. These are people that are really, focusing on the fact that you are the authority. You are the person that's going to really help to take them and solve the problem that they have. And it's really important when you position yourself like that. So, Paul, is there any other points you wanted to make on that?
Well, speaking is absolutely the best way to really establish your authority and get high-end clients. And when you do it with your book, you just multiply that. And these are really, these are the income streams that become available to you when you become an author. You can use your book to get in the media. You can use your book to get on TV, to get articles written about you in print. You can generate high-end leads. You can raise your fees. You can create courses and programs out of your book that you sell online, and they can become passive streams of income for you. And it's all just it all happens once you write a book. And I told you at the beginning of this webinar, and now that we're wrapping it up, that we had a special gift for you, and it's really the 10 ways to make big money with your book. And we've summarized 10 ways of just creating income streams with your book. And this is just a picture of it, but you'll be able to download that, and you can see right below your screen, just to the right a little bit, there's a button that says claim my free bonuses. And that's just one of the bonuses that we have for you. The other one Bob had described at the beginning was just figuring out how to make sure you write the right book, like getting started on the right track. Because, why did you show up here today? Well, everybody on this call knows that they need a book. You know that in order to be the leading expert in your field, to position yourself and to really take your business where you want it to go, that you have to have a book. You've got to get it written. And, it's just time for you to step onto the playing field here. And you can't get on the field if you don't write a book. And in order to do that, you have to start being an author right now. And I want you to just make that decision that you are an author. You're an author, and it starts right here today. And but that's not enough. You've got to get that book done. And if you want to get your book done fast, and you want to get the right book done, we want to help you. And what we're offering as another bonus is a free Get It Done income stream activator session. And this is something where it's really going to take a lot of our time. But here, Bob and I will spend 90 minutes with you in a 3-way call. Now, remember, Bob's in Vancouver, and he's 3 time zones away from me. I'm here in Ottawa, and we'll get on the call with you wherever you are in the world. We'll schedule this. It's it takes some scheduling to do, getting 3 schedules together. But Cindy, our virtual assistant, she is kind enough to to coordinate these things. And so she will be in touch with you to get that set up. But if you want to take advantage of one of those, it's a $500 value. It's worth way, way, way more money if you put it into practice. But there's absolutely no obligation. You get on the phone with us. We will hear what your expertise are, what the subject matter that you want to put in your book is, and we'll help you establish. How does that work with your perfect customer? How does that business idea work with a book? And what are the income streams that we can really activate for you? And Bob, we're so confident that we can find you an income stream that Bob has a little promise for you.
Yeah, I thought of this about 2 weeks ago. We're so confident that we can substantially increase your business with a book that we decided that our guarantee would be, if we cannot do that, substantially increase your business with a book with at least one of the ideas we talk about on the call, then we will publish your book for free within the next year. So you have to get your book ready for us within next year, but we will publish it for free. So in other words, it'll be professionally published. It'll be in our distribution system, which is about 31,000 online and offline bookstores throughout Canada, the US, UK, India, Australia. You'll have total distribution, which is really, really great. And it's a value of about $2,500. And that's just our hard costs. But this is how confident. If you say at the end of it, I can't see that you can substantially increase my business at all with a book, so I want you to honor your guarantee and publish my book for free, we will do that for you. But we're pretty confident that we can show you absolutely ways to substantially increase your business with a book. So that's why we wanted to stand behind it with a guarantee. We want to show you some of the things that have been happening with our clients, and many of them, and with ourselves, and we're passionate about it. We want to see your lives transform and see what a book can really do for yourself and your business. So that's our guarantee.
And if you're really looking at this bonus, then make sure you click the button below to claim your bonuses. You'll get the download of the 10 money making strategies for your book. And if you're really serious about getting your book out and published within the next 6 months to a year, take us up on that offer, and we'll spend the time with you figuring out how to activate these income streams in your business. We really we love doing it. It's always fun meeting people and finding out their ideas and how they transform lives, and figuring out how to write the best book so that they can position themselves. So we really we look forward to meeting with you and spending some time with you. Obviously, we don't have the time in our weeks to do it for everyone, but if you're really eager to get this done, just make sure you take us up on it. And we will make sure that we can really take your business to the next level. It's been an absolute pleasure spending this time with you, and we look forward to talking to you soon. So we hope wherever you are in the world, you're having a great day, and until the next time we speak.